Hey guys, and welcome back to another Cultured Boys discussion. I'm Pepe, and I'm joined by Nathan. And today we're going to be discussing the manga Diamond in the Rough. If you want to use a Japanese name, it's Aragane No Ko. And yeah, let's jump into it. How are you doing today, Nathan?
I'm good. I'm excited to be discussing manga once more. What I guess a little behind the scenes. Originally, we thought we'd have a weekly manga segment. As you can tell, that worked out well. No, I'm just excited. I don't think this is in weekly Jump, but like it comes out seemingly weekly, but not on like Sunday like the rest of them do.
Yeah, this one's in Shonen Jump Plus, or Weekly Jump Plus.
Ah, that's what it is. Right.
So it is a weekly series, but like it's just in a different magazine compared to some of the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah, you're the one that actually convinced me to get into this, actually, because like I remember hearing you talk about it before, but I never actually like read it. So yeah, I'll let you like go through.
Okay, so Diamond in the Rough is set in a world where they're called Ore Craftsmen, and basically these craftsmen collect rare minerals and gems and can manipulate them to do stuff. Like it's kind of like magic, right? But there's like a whole organization set around it. You need to take a test. Masters can take on, students. But this is set around the main character, like Kai, from a small village. And you find out early on that Kai is essentially wrapped up in this like big situation, like this big problem, because his family got turned to stone, and like nobody's supposed to be able to do that, like, and it's unheard of that happens. His sensei, or like spoilers, I guess sensei now, it happens all within the first chapter, so like I'm not really spoiling anything technically. Akeboshi is like, discovers all this because he feels really bad for Kai, because he's like comes across as this like happy-go-lucky, very optimistic, like typical like shonen protag. He's got all the pep in his step, and he's like, just gotta keep pushing forward. And Akeboshi just sort of like really likes his I don't know how else to say it without sounding like I'm from the 50s, but he really likes his moxie.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna say like pep or something like that. He really likes his pep and like Maxi.
Yeah, I really like your
Yeah.
moxie, kid. Why don't you be my student?
Oh yes, it's exactly how it goes down. It's all like in like little trilbies and everything.
Yep. It's there. There's also moonshine.
Okay, then just for the record, that doesn't happen.
Yes, that doesn't happen at all.
Like the introduction to the series is really good. Like it's basically how like Akeboshi takes on this student, and like sort of like the beginning of their adventures together. Obviously, like each one has their own backstory, which at the moment we're 10 chapters in. That's getting updated weekly, as Nathan said. We're only just getting into some of their backstory, like on what's going on right now. So it's still really early days, but so far there's a lot of good stuff going on.
Yeah. It's I think it's done in 10 chapters. It's done pretty well to mix in action and lore. Like it doesn't heavily give you loads of exposition or whatever. It doesn't just dump all that, and you've got chapters where you're just like, for fuck's sake, I can't be bothered to read this.
Yeah.
Okay, it dips a little bit here and there because exposition always does, but this is actually really good, and it's really, really well drawn. Like the art is amazing. This is super good.
Yeah, I can appreciate it. And like it's for a shonen, like it's got a really good concept, I feel. It's all about stones basically, and how they manipulate stones to like fight in a way.
Yeah, and it's got, okay, it's, everything's tropey by this point. Almost everything's been done, and you take inspiration from other things. So in some respects, I feel like Akeboshi is kind of like a more optimistic version of like a Kakashi. Like, how like in this chapters they're like, what? He's got a student? He never takes a disciple. He never wanted a disciple. And I kind of feel like that's like Kakashi in a sense, like he's like this really cool figure that just for whatever reason was never really taking any students.
Yeah, it's like he has a happy-go-lucky thing about him. Like, it's sort of like you think, like, is he gonna be that good of like a sensei? Like, you get those like initial doubts at the start, but like you know that like it's gonna like it's still early days right now, and you have those character doubts, but it is getting there. It's getting there. This guy's like revered in the whole like stone community world, I guess you can call it.
Yeah, like it's called the Mining Federation or something like that.
Yeah, that's it.
And again, like in 10 chapters, you've got enough information that's been drip fed to you that you're like, oh, these characters are really cool.
Mhm.
There's an established world and they've all got something, but you don't learn everything straight away. Like for example, like even in the first chapter with Kai, you don't learn everything straight away. It's sort of like drip fed to you, and you learn little bits until it builds up into like this big thing that you're like, holy shit, oh my god. And it's the same with Akaboshi. Like throughout these 10 chapters, like you're still getting more about him. Like we still don't know absolutely everything about him.
No.
And that makes it like really interesting, especially like in some of these later chapters, he's still hiding like stuff.
Yeah.
Like there's still things Akaboshi doesn't tell Kai. So this mangaka is doing really well, I feel like. I hope that it continues. You know, because a lot of these new series sometimes, you know, they start off strong and they'll die. So, you know, we'll see what happens around 20 because that's normally like 12 to 20 is normally around the cutting point.
Yeah.
So unless you're really bad, in which case you get cut in like 5.
It's one of those ones where, like, right now, I don't know. I'm quite familiar with how Weekly Jump works in terms of its like cutting, like you know, like how they always prioritize their more popular series at the front of the magazine, and all the like lower ones aren't doing as well go at the back.
Yeah.
Like, and you can tell that if one is consistently at the back of the magazine, like no, minus a couple, like they're pretty much going to end soon. We're like, especially if it's a new manga that's right at the bottom, you're like, oh shit, this is it's not looking good for him.
Yeah, so many of my new series are dead because of that.
Yeah. Yep. Nathan just reads all these dead series. It just happens to him. But like, I'm not sure if it's a similar thing with Weekly Jump Plus.
I don't know. Maybe that's like with Plus, it's a little more relaxed because it's like you said, it's like a bonus. Well, I guess you didn't say specifically that, but like it comes out weekly, but it's not like the big magazine. So maybe it's like a little more lax because it counts as like, oh, well, it's just, you know, the extras, you know, it's like bonus weekly chapters of stuff, you know, things that we wouldn't necessarily put in the main one for whatever reason, but like still good enough to be published.
Yeah, it's not like a monthly one either. Like, I think it's like Shonen Jump or Weekly Jump Q or something like that, or like Jump Square. Like, there's so many different Jump magazines. I lose track of them all.
Oh my god, yeah, that in itself would probably take a whole episode to explain to me. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like there's just like an infinite amount of Jump magazines.
Yeah, there's like monthly ones, and there's like these other ones where like, they're just like, I know certain series that have like transferred over to like the monthly series. Like what was it? World Trigger used to be in Weekly Jump, but then it became a monthly manga. It went on hiatus and then went into monthly.
Okay.
And I think the same was with To Love Ru, I think. I'm not entirely sure on it. But yeah, like, but this manga has just gone straight into, well, Jump Plus and is weekly, and I'm glad it's weekly. We're getting like quite regular updates on it.
Yeah, again, it's interesting because at least I don't think I've seen anything set around gemstones in this way.
No.
Maybe there are other series that are set around gemstones and stuff that I probably haven't read. And are different in concept, but this was really cool because like it's established also that like the rarer gemstones are like this upper echelon of the Federation, and like once one person is basically selected, like that's it, they're like the top. It's almost like, you know, like King Arthur's like Knights of the Round Table kind of thing, you know, like they're like the best of the best essentially. Like,
yeah, the top tier sort of thing. I'm interested to see where these other knights are as well, like what other fighters there are in this like sort of top 12.
Exactly, because so far we've only seen one, and that's Akaboshi.
Yeah.
And he was selected to be the Ruby, and he's got a fucking cool ass like flaming katana. Like, it's fucking sick.
Yeah, it does look sick.
So it just, you know, you'd think, well, if he's just the Ruby, like what else does this mangaka or this world classify as like other super rare or top tier gemstones, and what can they do?
I wonder if there's like a sort of, you know, like you have in Bleach, there's the 13 guards.
Yeah.
And obviously there's not really a priority in number between them. But like, is it that kind of vibe where like they're all like just equal, or is there going to be like a hierarchy of like which like gemstone is higher rated than the other? Like, that's an interesting concept as well.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, have these other people got disciples as well? Like, are they going to turn up?
That'd be a good concept. I love that.
And how are they going to interact with Kai and tournament arc?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
It's just that you want to go through all the shonen tropes, don't you? And it's like, but like, it's one of those ones where I feel like this is very much adventure based. So I feel like there could be room for like a tournament arc, I reckon.
well, I feel like there could be a tournament arc just because Kai is in training,
Hmm.
and it might be one of those where all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, we want to see how good he is," or part of the adventure is that they travel to this new place, and it just so happens that there's another one of these like gemstone night people, and there's a tournament going on. You know what I mean? Like, you can still throw it in there without making it like, oh, we're calling everyone together for a tournament.
I feel like if it was gonna go for anything, it'd be like like Naruto tuning exam sort of vibes. Like maybe like it's a selection of something. Maybe it's kind of that thing. But I was thinking like if there's any series that to me that feel similar vibes to this. I think the closest one I can tell in terms of sort of combat, I feel is Full Metal Alchemist.
Yeah,
I can feel like because there's like sort of like manipulation of like elements and stuff in that.
that's such a good comparison.
In terms of story, it's a very different.
Story wise, I feel like there isn't one series, like
No, I'm trying to think if there's.
you'd have to cobble together elements of like loads of different ones, but
Mm,
I don't feel like this is one, at least personally, that has a comparison in that sense.
yeah.
Not saying, oh, it doesn't have a comparison because it's like the best, the most original thing. But like, I can't think of something that's that similar. Like, okay, maybe early Dragon Ball, because early Dragon Ball was like about the journey as well, like an adventure.
Yeah.
But early Dragon Ball had a different vibe to it.
I think like early Dragon Ball felt more comedy. This is like sort of like it's kind of like a little bit of a tale of like revenge as well in it a little bit.
Yeah, I guess Full Metal Alchemist probably is the closest to all of it, to be fair,
Yeah.
because it is like that sort of like semi-scientifical, like mystical element. And in Full Metal Alchemist, they are also not fully about the journey, but they have that sort of overarching revenge sort of story.
They have their goal at the end of that. So it's like it's that sort of typical revenge and like it's the journey and goal sort of manga where like they go along the journey, like Kai's gonna be training, etc. Akaboshi's gonna be training him, but at the same time there is like Kai has a aim, he has a goal, and at this point Akaboshi's only goal is to train Kai, but like obviously we're still getting into his character right now.
Yeah.
So there could be another motive, maybe.
He's got to have other motives that we don't know about.
Yeah.
And again, that's what I think is really great so far, is that we don't know a whole lot. And
Yeah.
most chapters have ended in such a way that I'm like, I need to know more.
Yeah, it's creating that intrigue right now.
As of recording, like Pepe already said, there's 10 chapters. And like, I read the 10th chapter just before recording. And like the way that chapter ends, I'm like, shit, like what? I need to know more.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those ones that it keeps you going. It's like it hooks you. It definitely hooks you. I'm trying to think like I feel like there's a lot of like backstory that could be. It's one of those ones where you kind of want to know more backstory. There's some mangas where you're like, oh, they're going into backstory now. I don't really care for it as much. Whereas this one, you kind of feel like you need it to actually see where this character's come from and like why.
Yeah.
The thing is with Akaboshi is that he's such a carefree character, but that there's something else to it, and that there's more layers to him than it appears. So I'm curious to see where that backstory comes from.
It feels like a persona that he's putting on, like a face. Carefree is maybe just the person he wants to be rather than the person he actually is. But like, I want some backstory of other characters too.
Yeah.
Like Akaboshi's really interesting, don't get me wrong, but like the other member of their journey party, like Ko, she's introduced quite early on and she's shown to be like super competent, she's like pretty powerful in her own right. And like we got just a very small amount of backstory for her, but like I want to know more about her because she's quite an interesting character.
Yeah, definitely. It's like there's so many like different things that go on here. I'm curious at like oh no, like are there gonna be more party members joining as well? That's a thing as well. I feel like there has to be at this point because with those sort of journey mangas, there is sort of like I don't know, there has to be more party members joining as well.
Yeah,
I'm curious
if they do add more, it's the curiosity of like what will these characters do to because you know, like the party in these mangas normally like round out the group. You know,
Mm-hmm.
someone does this, someone does that.
Yeah, they all have their sort of.
Okay, some people overlap because you know, like again, early Dragon Ball, like you know, Goku and Yamcha, they're the fighters.
Yeah.
But like you know, you had Bulma who was like the smart one, and Oolong who was just you know the crafty perv. Like
Yeah, but like they all had their goals, as you said. Like, because right now it is all focused on training Kai at this point.
yeah,
So like we probably will see more into like when like Kai's powers like develop a bit more. We'll probably see other characters that have like certain goals or.
I mean, even in 10 chapters, he's come quite a long way already. Because you know he's like gone from like I hate gemstones, and I don't give a crap about any of this, and being really inept to being like, oh, like I can do some basic stuff now, and I'm like getting pretty good at the basics. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from there. And it's hard to say things like this without spoiling because again, I wanna talk about like this latest chapter, but I also don't want to be like, oh yeah, because that.
Yeah, we'll leave some of the details for you guys to actually like read
Yes.
yourself. Like we don't want to like give a deep dive into the whole series right now.
Yeah.
However, I will say that off of what we were talking about earlier about characters' backstories, I also like I think we need to address the sort of the villain in this piece,
Oh yeah.
who is currently like there it's this guy called Kuro Toby,
Yes.
who is like you don't get much info on him at the start, but like he within the first few chapters he comes into it quite like he makes a splash, he makes a fucking big entrance. So
Also super surprising because normally you don't see what is considered the big bad so early on.
especially like at this point, like if they do show him that early on, it's like it's showing how like powerful he is.
Yeah.
But right now in this like in the latest few chapters, we kind of saw him go toe to toe with Akaboshi, which kind of feels like they're like sort of like on an equal power level. Obviously, Kai's not on that right now. Kai is the one that wants to get the revenge most of all from this guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think what we're gonna see is that I want to see where Kurotobi's come from because obviously he is kind of working independently, but he's also not because there's like some other villains in the mix that we don't know anything about right now.
And there's some other bits in those clusters of chapters in the middle. Again, trying to stay spoiler free, but like as the two people who read it, Pepe, I hope you can surmise what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when it's sort of unveiled about little bits of Kurotobi, and then when they get the green light, and then some more shit happens, and you're like,
yeah, it's I'm curious. Like, I know exactly what you're talking about. I don't want to like
yeah.
go into that sort of right now. And
But it's like there's again this mangaka is like sprinkled so much shit all over the place.
yeah,
But not terribly, not in a bad way. Like it's not like you're sitting there like what? Well, that doesn't make any sense. It's like holy shit, I didn't expect that.
he's planting the seeds early of like there's gonna be nothing's all that it seems in certain parts of the story. It's hard. I don't want to go into detail of like whereabouts these hints are, but like definitely check it out. Like because it is there's so much that goes on with it. That's like what you said. Like there's a lot that he's done in his first 10 chapters. Like there's a lot of like introduction with the first two, and then it kind of gets into it more. Like it's not just training. It's not just like your typical, hey, let's train, let's go beat the bad guy. There's a lot of deceit going on. I feel there's a lot of like not everything's at the seams. Like, I don't know.
A lot of moving parts in the background.
Yeah.
Which is sort of strange to say when you're talking about a manga, you know, like yeah, when you say things like that, you know, when you think, oh, it's like in a movie or animation, you know, like or something, but like in this manga, there's stuff happening that we have no idea about in the shadows.
Like to establish that sort of stuff in the first 10 chapters is quite sick because like think about like this, like One Piece, for example. There's so many different branches of the story. Like there's so many like there's bits like between arcs, you see like some of the side characters that you don't see very often interacting, and like you see what's going on in their world. And you're like, oh shit, that's happening, and then you won't see it again for ages. I feel like this is like kind of like it's not on that scale. It's not on One Piece's scale, but you do see those similarities in that as well. You know.
Oh yeah. Again, it sounds like we're just repeating ourselves, but it is really amazing because some people would say, you know, this is kind of rushed. You know, like all of this in 10 chapters, all of that that's happened, but like the pacing really doesn't feel that rushed. It actually flows pretty well.
No, I think like yeah, exactly. Like some people might argue, oh yeah, if the big bad showed up, it feels rushed, but it's definitely not because it's like there's still so much more to like the bad guy and that, like, or who the villains are. So like we need his backstory, we need to know who he's working with. There's a lot of stuff that like to take in, and there's still stuff we don't know.
Yeah, and they're still trying to explore the world as well. Whilst like so far we've seen 3 locations
Yeah.
in 10 chapters, and that's just a minuscule amount of the world that's out there as well.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much more there is to see?
There's a lot of world building going on as well. Like that's the one thing as well. Like you know that with each city that they go to, there's going to be more and more intrigue with like what is this city's speciality, what do they do, etc. Like what are the characters' goals in this situation? But yeah, I'm looking forward to more chapters to see where this comes from. I'm quite surprised that this is in Jump Plus a little bit. I feel like this like I don't know, like obviously I don't know how like things work between the magazines or whatever, but like I think it's a pretty solid manga. Not entirely sure why it isn't in like Weekly Jump or something, considering it's coming out.
Yeah, I'm surprised that like that's what I've been wondering this whole time whilst we've been talking about it as well, because it's good enough. And considering some things in the main magazine have like been axed, it does boggle your mind a bit that like this series that is as good, if not better than some of those, that could easily live in the main magazine is not there. It's a strange choice for sure.
It makes you think though, if this series was in Weekly Jump, would it be one of those series that is at the back sort of thing? Maybe like when it's compared to those others, like would it like flounder compared to something like Doctor Stone or One Piece? Like would it be towards the back of the magazine if it was published there? Maybe it's a better thing that it's published in Jump Plus.
I guess so.
Because like you're getting like it definitely has more of an opportunity to shine, and maybe it's one of those risks in it. Like, do you want to go for the big magazine and then like possibly fail when compared to other big like huge bigger series, or do you want to go into a smaller magazine, big fish small pond sort of thing?
Based off of what I read now, like off of Manga Plus app, you know, from the main magazine, I think this could stand up to some of the stuff in there right now.
Yeah.
Again, like I'm not trying to trash, you know, like I'm not trying to throw shade at other series, but like for example, I feel like it's could stand higher than Ayakashi Triangle, for example.
I can agree with you on that.
I think it's up there with like the likes of Mashal.
Yeah.
I feel like it could stand with Neru. I personally don't like PPPPPPP, so I feel like it could easily stand higher than that. I'm also not a fan of Me and Roboco, so
yeah.
Like I feel like, you know, even though yes, I understand what you're saying, like yeah, maybe it wouldn't stand out as much. Maybe it would suffer if it was in the main magazine, but at the same time, if you look at the stuff in the main magazine right now, I don't feel like it's got too much competition. I actually really think this is a very solid manga that could easily stand up there. Maybe not in the top of the top, but like somewhere in the middle though. I wouldn't say it'd get to the bottom. Not yet, at least.
No, I agree with you. I feel like it's to be a solid middle, especially like 10 chapters in. I feel this would be a solid middle manga. Just a little bit of info, a little update for you, Nathan. Neru has ended.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it ended this week.
I'm not surprised. I liked it. I thought it was good. And I thought it had a cool concept, but
yeah,
I can see why it would have ended.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's the competition, I don't see why Aragane No Ko can't be in the main magazine.
Yeah.
A lot of these new ones are fading away very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Diamond in the Rough is right up there. Again, maybe not in the top slots, right? You know, where One Piece, Doctor Stone, Black Clover, you know, all of those.
Mm-hmm.
But right underneath those, in like the top of the middle of the pack, I feel like it'd be solidly there. I feel like it could do really well in those rankings. But maybe that's us, you know, in the West, that's what we think. It doesn't technically matter what we think because the rankings are based mainly off of the Japanese rankings and what the Japanese public think. Maybe the Japanese public don't like it as much. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, it could be a thing. We at the end of the day, we're all just like speculating here. That's all we can do right now because who knows what goes on in Shueisha's headquarters, what decisions they make editorially, all that sort of stuff. But yeah.
As long as it continues, though, because
I hope it has a good lifespan. I'm not sure like what the typical lifespan for these kind of series are, especially in that magazine. But like, I'm always up for more.
Well, I don't even know what else is in that magazine.
I don't know either, to be fair.
What else is like? Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I have no idea. This is the first time I've ever heard of this this other magazine.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know what else is in there, but I'd hope that Diamond in the Rough if that magazine even gets rankings is like high up there.
Yeah.
But again, it depends on what else is in there because there might be some cool stuff. I don't know.
Well, there's a lot of series in here right now.
Is it?
Yeah. Let's see. I'm trying to recognize. So one of the series that we read at the moment, well, that I did pick up on, you're continuing with it, is Ron Kamonohashi Deranged Detective.
I thought that would be in it because that also comes out weekly. That's a good one.
Okay. I've seen what was it, My Hero Academia Vigilantes? So it's a side series.
Yeah, I want to read that. Apparently, that's really good.
Or was it Hitalia? That's one of my favorite series as well.
I've seen clips of the anime.
Yeah. I'm trying to there's not other ones that obviously Diamond in the Rough is there. There's one called Dan Dadan. I feel like I've heard that before, but I'm not exactly sure.
I've heard of that one. That's on Manga Plus as well. I haven't read that one actually.
Yeah, that's in there. There's there's fair few in here, There's loads.
Okay.
A lot more than Weekly Jump. So yeah.
Again, maybe this one is for all the ones that could have lived in the main magazine, but maybe for whatever reason they thought it wouldn't do well there or something. So they thought there's already too many.
Oh, Kaiju number 8. That was in thingy.
I wanted to read that too.
Or Monster 8, as it said. Like that's in the. Oh, is this a Haikyuu spin-off manga? I think. Yeah, there's a Haikyuu spin-off manga still going in there.
Okay.
Yeah, loads. Yeah, I won't fixate on it too much more, but yeah, there's loads of series going on in there. Like, there must be at least like about quite a few.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so maybe that is it then. Maybe that magazine is just for the ones that could live in the main magazine, but maybe the main magazine's too packed at the time when they're like, yeah, we'll publish this. But
I mean, by the looks of it, there's a fair few series that have been out for a while in that magazine as well. So
well, I mean, yeah, like Ron Kamonashi, like I've been reading that for what feels like a few months already.
I'm pretty sure Vigilantes has been out for like
Vigilantes has been going out for years, isn't it?
Few years, yeah. So I reckon, yeah, that's probably gonna be like, I don't know, it gives me hope that Diamond in the Rough can actually have like a longevity then. Like it's actually gonna be.
Yeah. I mean, the hope is, that the mangaka now Sasaki has a long story to tell. And that they keep up with the pacing and the storytelling they have been doing because they've been doing a wicked job. Like I looked them up whilst we were discussing stuff, and as far as I can tell, they've only had one other manga published.
Oh yeah.
Which is like even more amazing now. If you think about it, because like if this is only their second published manga, let's say, then I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they were like an assistant for other mangaka before or something. I don't know, but like wherever they've picked up their storytelling, like they're good.
The art looks quite familiar as well. That's one thing I've noticed. It's
yeah, I can't put my finger on that either. I feel like I've seen that somewhere, but I don't know what series I've seen that art from.
Yeah, I think it just has like a familiarity about it. I feel like it's I don't know.
I think it's the faces. Something about the faces I feel like I've seen before, like that exact sort of face structure.
Yeah.
The rounded eyes, the slightly rounder but sharp chin. Like, I don't know where I've seen it, but I definitely feel like I've seen it.
Maybe it's just a generic-y sort of thing. Maybe it's a generic artist.
Hey, man, even for generic art, they're better than my generic art, so.
Nice one. Is there anything else you have to say about the manga at all?
No, just, the standard when we do these kind of like manga reviews or whatever. Please support the official release. You can read it on Manga Plus for free.
Yeah, all the chapters are on there as well. Like literally all 10 chapters are there right now. It doesn't look like they've taken out any of the middle ones. So right now is probably a great opportunity to jump into this.
Yeah, please check it out. We both want this series to continue, and the only way it will is if people read it, and it is one worth reading as a shonen fan.
Defo. But yeah, nice one. Thank you for listening to us again, guys. Remember to check us out on podcast platforms. We're on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts, not music.
Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. All the links are in the description. Don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, hit that bell button so you get notified. And that's it from me.
Nice one. That's all from me as well. Right. Catch you later, guys. Bye.
Bye.